Okay. Do I have audio? Hello, you guys. Can you hear me? Do I have chat?
Yep, hello.
The pill? What was that? Can you guys hear me? Is it bad? The sound? Maybe you guys cannot hear me.
I can hear you good.
I can
Oh,
hear you.
great. Great. All right, you guys. So today we continue. There's a few things we'll try today. Should be quite fun. Some of you are probably wondering, why aren't you making us do assignments and grades? And please give me an A. I need grades. Okay, don't worry about that, you guys. We're trying to learn stuff here and actually use it. So let's forget about the conditioning of high school. So today I want to cover a few things. We want to talk. Last week we brought the character into our little level and moved it around. We knew that the level needed collisions, and our character needed, besides a collision, a rigid body, so it was affected by gravity. Right? You guys remember all that? I hope. It's like, what are you talking about? I forgot everything already. Yeah. So to be affected by gravity, we need a rigid body, right? And to crash against things, we need a collision on our character. So today we're gonna build on what we have here, and what I want you to think about. Anybody come up with anything as far as their game idea so far that they want to? They can't wait to tell everybody how great an idea it is. Nobody? Okay.
I had one or two that I like.
Okay, so we'll talk about. I don't know if we went through everybody last time, but if we didn't, we'll cover some of those ideas, give you some feedback with your classmates, and hopefully I can come up with something to tell you. Um, but today, what we'll do is we'll replace this little guy we have running around our level for our own guy. We will also make the camera follow him or her, and or it. I don't know what your character will be. You know, it might be a robot. I don't know. And we'll talk a little bit about how the animation works on Unity for your character. So let me.
We need to have Unity started up.
Yes, have Unity start up. And you know what? It's Alt P. Okay, I remember this record now. Okay, so now it's recording, or it should be recording. So this is where we left off last time. We made a little level. We brought a character from the asset store or from the packages from the asset store, right? So we did a third person. And if you remember, this character is a prefab. You guys remember what a prefab is? Anybody remembers?
It's prefabricated. It's put
Yeah, so
together.
it's put together already. So it's not just a 3D model, right? It has components you have put on the inspector, you have added to this object. So if I put this guy here.
So is this scene we're working in, is that just the regular like 3D pipeline, not like the HDRP or anything, or the universal render pipeline for Unity? Like how there's the templates when you start a new assignment?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Is this scene like just started with the regular 3D template, or is it using like the universal render pipeline or anything like that?
No, it's just a regular 3D template.
Okay.
So so we have the character, and I actually replaced it, and I guess I erased everything, but I replaced the character so it would be something else, because you guys might want to replace the character. Obviously, you don't want to use that Ethan character that's already set up in there. So we're going to do this today. We're going to replace your character because obviously your game will not have Ethan on your game. Obviously, it's a different character. Or if you do use Ethan, I want you to come up with your own character and replace it, modify it. If you download a character from the asset store or from any other place that you find a character that you like, that is fine as long as you replace it, not adjust it so it matches your game. So it's not just a straight on, I just downloaded this from online and I'm just going to use that. I want you to fix the character so it looks like it belongs in your game, whatever your idea may be. So on the 8th of February, you should have a character made already. Either if you want to start it from scratch, or if you want to download a character from online and modify it so it matches your game. Pretty much everybody in here should be comfortable enough modeling to be able to do something like that. Am I wrong? Anybody feel scared of modeling or changing a character?
I have a couple questions. Are we going to need to have it rigged and stuff as well?
Yes.
Okay, and oh, sorry, I was going to ask one more thing. I somehow lost my scene from last time. So anyway, do you remember what we did to create the objects already set up, like the stairs and stuff? What was that called?
Pro Builder.
Oh, Pro Builder. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, stick around at the end and I'll help you with that.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
I need help with that too.
Yeah, well, stick around at the end, you guys, and I'll help you with that. So we need to see how do we bring this character in here. And right now I replaced it, but I'm going to show you how I replaced it. It's not very hard. It should take you a few minutes. So let's say, let me open Maya here, and you might do yours in Blender. It doesn't matter. Let me just start from 0 so you guys can see what I did. So I don't have a character that I'm going to use, so I'm just going to use the base mesh from the content browser in Maya. So I'm going to go into General Editors, Content Browser, and I'm just going to use this girl here again. I'm just going to modify her so you can see it's different. So let's say I make a few changes to this. Your character might be the alien or anything else. It doesn't really matter. Let's say let me turn on symmetry so it happens on both sides. Make some sleeves here. Where's my control? Is on the other side. Okay, so I'm just gonna make a little bit of difference here so you guys can tell it's different. It's not exactly the same. Let me just get rid of this edges here. Okay, so it looks like it has leaves now, and we cannot leave it like that. It looks like boots with fingers, but never mind. So let's say this is our character. I've shown you guys, some of you are saying, I don't know how to rig my character. So for this class, we're just gonna use the quick rig. I've shown it to you a few times. If you don't remember, I'll go over it right now. It's fairly easy, but it will give you a rig that works without you having to spend hours creating rigs and fixing stuff. So we'll use it again next class to add animations to this character, and so we'll build on it. I know it's fairly simple, but we'll build on it. So you have to select your character on the outliner or in here, and then change your menu to rigging. So you might be in modeling, You just have to change it to rigging. And you go skeleton, quick rig. So in here, there's a couple options for your character. You can just hit the one button solution and it will rig the whole thing for you. The problem is it puts the elbows and the wrists wherever it feels like it should put them. So if you look in here, it's put a rig on my character, but look where it put the knees. They're kind of bent in. And I don't know if they'll bend right. And the elbow is all the way on the forearm. So if I start moving my character, you might start seeing weird things. So like if I bend the knees, you know, they're bending the wrong way. And if I move the hand, you know, the elbow is on the forearm. So I usually don't use the one button solution. You know, if you're in an extreme hurry, I would do it, but it might give you pretty bad results. So I'm going to delete that quick rig. So I'm going to go again into skeleton, quick rig, and on the top here you see a trash can that deletes the last rig you made. So it's gonna ask you, do you want to delete the skin and control rig and all that? You say okay. If your rig didn't work, you can delete that. So instead of doing the one-click solution, we're gonna do the step-by-step solution, which is just 5 steps. It's pretty simple. You select your model, and I'm actually going to change the name of this character so I can differentiate it from the other one. And I'm going to add it in here. So we're going to click on add a new quick rig. It's going to ask you what geometry you want to add. So if you have it selected, you just have to hit plus or add. And if you make a mistake, just delete it from here. The second step is it'll create the beginnings of the bones. So those spheres you see at the beginning of each bones, it'll create those. So in here you can pick what type of mesh you have. You might have an imperfect mesh, watertight or perfect mesh, and you might have a polygon soup too. If your model is pretty bad, you know, it might be able to deal with it better. So we'll just say imperfect mesh, because I don't think, see, the middle there doesn't have any space for the legs to separate or move. So we'll say imperfect mesh. And then you can't change how many bones it has on the spine or the neck, on the shoulders. I'm just gonna leave it at the default. And I'm just going to say create. So it's going to think for a minute, and then it's going to show you these spheres, the beginning of the bone, so where they're located. You can grab them now and move them to the place where you want them. So, and this is easier to do on an orthographic view. So I'm going to turn on orthographic view. You can select the bone and hit F to center your camera, you know, mouse over to the window, hint center by hitting F on your keyboard. And then kind of position your joint here on the right spot. The other thing is, for a joint, for the inverse kinematics to work, you want it to have a little bit of a bend. So what do I mean? So the knees, you saw how they were bending backwards. That's because Maya doesn't know which way it bends. So here are the knees. Let me hit 4 so you can see the wireframe. So Maya doesn't know which way the knees bend. But if you look at the bones, like this is the hip, this is the knee, and this is the ankle there. It almost looks like they're bent back a little bit. Like the knees is going like this a little bit. And some people might have the knee that way. It's normal. But you want it to give it a little bit of a bend on the direction you want it to bend. So Maya doesn't get confused and bend the joint backwards. So I'm going to grab the knee and move it forward a little bit. So It's kind of closer to the front. Maybe move the hip back a little bit too. So for sure it knows where it's supposed to bend. So that's probably good. I'm just gonna look at it from the side view to make sure. My space bar, you guys, doesn't want to work. Okay, so there's the hip bone, there's the knee. I moved it forward. I don't know if you guys can see, but for now it's like this, right? So there's a little bit of a bend forward. So Maya knows. I'm actually going to move it a tad more right there. So Maya knows which direction it's supposed to bend. So generally that's the biggest problem, the knees and the elbow being on the wrong spot. The wrist also, we want it on the wrist. So I'm going to move it back a little bit, make sure it's on the right spot. Make sure the elbows have a bit of a bend. So there's the neck, the head, it looks okay. If you notice, I'm just changing one side. I'm not changing both. And you don't need to change both. This is the toes. You can change one side and then copy it to the other side. I think I'm gonna move my knee out a little bit more. Maybe a little higher actually, about right there. Okay, so now I fixed this side, the left side of the character, or the right side when I'm looking at the screen. And on step 3, you can adjust them all. So if you look in here, it says copy left to right or right to left. But before we do that, we want to select all the guides. So with this button right here, it will select all the guides. And now I'm going to copy the left side of the character to the right side. And see, it moved the other side for me. Is that the right point on the wrist? That looks, we'll say it's close enough. So now that was simple enough. We just go to step 4. We just say create the skeleton, and it creates the skeleton and also creates those squares and circles you saw to grab the skeleton. So we're going to say create. It's going to think for a minute. There's the skeleton with this, this red square is to move the hips. This is to move the feet, and the arms are the circles. But this rig is not connected to the body yet. It's just a skeleton without being connected to the body. So if I move it, it will not move the body. So that process is called skin binding or skinning. So we're going to go to step 5 and say create. It's going to hook up the body to the mesh. And now if you move the controls, the body will move with it. The controls might be a little hard to see. I don't know if you guys can even see them on your screen. I hope you can. But if you come to this little guy here, there's a few more options you have. So if you look in here, when you're animating, you have this little character on the top. It says move body part. So if I grab, let's say, this circle for the hand and move the arm, it's just going to move till the arm, the length of the arm. So it won't let you pull it any farther than that. But right next to it, it says move full body. So if I select that instead of the move body part, now if I pull the arm, it's going to pull the whole body with it. Okay, so this is pretty handy when you're animating. Sometimes you might want to move the whole body with your arm, or just the body part. So as you're animating, you can't change those. You can't change those settings. You can move it either way. So and here you can reset to T-pose. If you click on the little blue button here, you can say edit control rig and the rig look. Right now it's set to wire. You can make it be sticks or boxes. boxes are usually more visible. So now instead of having those circles, I can see boxes, and I can actually scale them if you want to. Let's say I want this two to be bigger. I can make them bigger so they're easier to grab for me, you know, and I can animate the character this way, you know. That's as far as what you need for rigging. So it was fairly simple, just 5 steps with the quick rig. I know it doesn't have hands, it doesn't have face animation, but for this game prototype, it'll be fine. If you wanted to add fingers and more bones to the face, you can do that. Right now, quick rig is what's it called? It has like a few references in here. So if you look on the outliner, if you look in here, you open it by hitting this button here at the bottom of the tools. You see quick rig control and references, and then the bones are over here, but they're hidden. That's the actual bones of the character. So if you wanted to see them, you can turn them on back here on the character controller. You know, you say show or hide skeleton. If you turn it on, now you actually see the real bones of the character, and you can select the last bone, you know, and add the finger bones to it, or add a jaw bone, or other things you might want to do to your character. You would have to paint weights for it, and you know, and test your weights. Just to finish this, we'll select our character and all these controls. We're just gonna select it like this. Make sure I have everything in here on the outliner. And now I'm going to send it to Unity. So I'm going to say save, or I'm sorry, export, or you can say send to Unity. You would just have to do an FBX. So if you remember, that's the files, the game engine text are FBX. So we'll say selection. It's going to ask me, where do you want to put this? I want to put it on my project that I'm working on. It's not my project's default. It's this folder. I think I call it delete later. And I put it on my D drive. So let me find it. It's in experiments, if I remember right. I misspelled experiments. Yeah, there's delete later. There's my project I'm doing with After Effects. And I'm going to put it inside your my assets folder. So that's where all your things should be. Here's my characters folder. So I'm going to put it in here. I don't have to name it first. I'm just selecting the folder. Yeah, so don't get confused with that. We're just selecting the folder first. I always messed up on that. So now it's going to ask me to save it. So I just selected the folder first. Now we're naming it the FBX. So email with sleeve. And we're going to say export selection. And if you remember, we have a bunch of settings that I showed you last time. So we want the geometry. And we want embed media is your texture. So you usually want that on. And I didn't see bones in here. So I'm just gonna leave animation on just in case. It shouldn't bring anything since we don't have any frames of animation or keyframes. But I just want to make sure the bones are sending. So now we're going to say export selection, and we're going to go back to Unity. So now in my assets folder, and if you remember, we have assets that we made. So if I look on my assets here, and then characters, did I put it inside? Okay, so here's the female I did with the sleeves. So you will have Ethan on your screen here. You'll have Ethan moving around. What we need to do is get rid of Ethan or my other model that I have here and put the model we made. So you might have made a character that looks completely different than Ethan. We're just going to replace it. So it's pretty easy. All you have to do is on the hierarchy, which is everything that's on your scene, you look for the third person controller that we imported. So there it is. And if you go inside of it, there is a character with bones and other things. Ethan had glasses also besides the bones. So all you have to do is delete it. And you're just left with the third person controller. Okay. So if you look, it still has the rigid body, the capsule collider, and it has a couple scripts for it to work. So, but before, let me just go back here a few steps. Before you do that, you're going to bring the character you made. So in this case is this lady with these leaves that I made. And you're going to try to match it as close as you can to the model that's in there. Ethan, in that case. So if I look at my model, it's a little bit bigger. It's a little bit bigger than what's in the screen. So you'll see Ethan, he might be bigger or smaller. So we're going to adjust our model to be close to it. So if you remember, any character or anything you bring, at least the component it has is the scale, position, and rotation, right? So here on the scale, we can scale everything. Oops, I'm moving the position. Where's the scale? So here's scale. I'm gonna scale down. And you might not want to do it from here. You might actually want to use the scale tool. So it's just like in Maya, you hit R and there's your scale tool, or you have it up here on the top left, scale. And then scale your character kind of to match the other one, so it's close to it. And kind of put it on the same spot. And now that it's close to the other one, I'm going to delete the character inside the third person controller. So I'm going to select the third person controller and delete the character that's inside of it and the bones or anything else that might be in there. So now if I grab my character and drag it on top of the third person controller, it's going to become a child of the third person controller. So if I test the game, my character should move with the person controller, but you might not see the animation for it. You might have the character moving around on the T-pose. And if you grab the tab of the window, the game window, you can put it somewhere else. So I'm going to put it over here on the side so we can see the game and our scene at the same time. So your character might not be animating. It might just be moving around on the T-pose. And that is because it doesn't know where the bones are for this character. So what we need to do is open the third person controller. You know what? This will be a lot clearer if I bring Ethan back in here. So let me get him back in here. Standard assets. So let me do this again. So I'm going to delete my third person controller, and from the standard assets, get characters, third person controller, prefabs, and put it in here. Okay, so there's Ethan. So this is what you have. Let's test it just to make sure it works. Yeah, it's working. Okay, so this is what you have now. So let me just hit stop here to the gameplay. So when you try to delete Ethan, you know, there might be bones in there. There might be skeletons. You might also have to go inside the prefab by clicking this arrow, you know, in here. But then you just delete it. Just delete Ethan, his bones and his glasses and everything, and bring your character in here after you scale it too much. So I'm going to bring my character in here again. So mine is on characters, assets. And there it is. Let me hit play. See if it's staying on the T-pose. So yeah, this is what's going to happen to you. So your character is going to say, oh, I can move the character, but I don't know how to animate it because the bones are not configured. So you're moving on the T-pose, you know. It's parented to the third person controller, but it doesn't know how to move the bones. So if you go to your character, so here's my female character with sleeves that I brought in. Let me just delete this other one for confusion. So here's my character that I brought from Maya. So if I look at it, inside of it with this little arrow, there's the rigs, there's the mesh, and there's the material. I think this might be the wireframe. Yeah, that's the wireframe. So there's a material, skin mesh. So when we brought it in, it brought all these things with it. And if I look at the inspector, in here it has model, rig, animation, and materials. So I didn't bring it with any materials, but I know I brought it with a rig. So if I look at the rig, the animation type for it is set to generic. We need to change this from generic to humanoid because this is a humanoid character. It has legs and arms. So now our Unity will know how to animate this guy. And you always have to hit apply after you make a change to something you brought from another package like a Maya or Blender. You just have to hit apply to apply the changes. If you forget, it will remind you. It'll give you this window. Like I forgot, so I'm just gonna hit apply. The changes are made. So you see it added a humanoid rig to it from Unity. So now if I look in Unity, it might still not work. So if I hit play and move around, it's still in the T-pose. So this third-person controller has some animation set to the controller itself. And if I select it on the hierarchy, you will see on the components, there's an animator here. And the third-person animator controller is what's moving it. But the avatar that's moving is Ethan. It's not our avatar that Unity made for us. So we need to switch it in here to our avatar that Unity made. So there it is, female with sleeves. I just click on this little circle by it, and it lets me change it. And now I can close it. So now if I hit play, my character should animate with the animations that I program in the third-person controller. So now it's working how it should. So this is how you bring your own character from Maya. So now we have a character. We have one more issue with it. When our character moves around, the camera does not follow. We have the camera here on the scene, and one of your classmates just parented the camera to the third-person controller. So again, to parent in the hierarchy, you just drag something over something else, and whatever you're dragging becomes the child of the person you're dragging into. So I drag my main camera into the third-person controller. Now it's a child, and now it will follow the character, but there's a few problems with it. When I rotate, the camera moves weird. You know, it's kind of dizzying a little bit, and you can see the camera on this side on the scene moving. Also, if I run into an object, the camera may get lost into it because it doesn't detect collisions. So we're gonna try something different in here. Going to get the camera out. So I'm going to drag it again. If you hold your mouse on it, and you'll see that little arrow when you're dragging it out. So we're just gonna drag it out of the group. And we're going to keep it selected and bring another package that is called Cinemachine, which is a video game camera that's ready for you to use. So if you look on your packages, package manager, you'll see Cinemachine listed in here somewhere. Am I blind? Oh, there it is. Okay, so you say install. It will take a minute to install, but it will do pretty much all the heavy lifting for you. It's going to avoid collisions. You know, it won't let the camera go inside a collision and stay stuck there. It will also follow your character, and with the mouse you can look around. Is it installed? Yeah, it is. Okay, so once it's installed, you'll see a new menu here. It says Cinemachine. So from here, we're going to create a free look camera. So with the free look camera, you have to tell it what to follow and what to aim at. So it created it's over here somewhere. So we're going to say follow my character and look at my character. So if you look at the components here on the inspector, it says follow none. So I'm going to click on the little circle here and say follow the female with sleeves, and also look at the female with sleeves. So now it's looking at it in my game. So I'm going to close this now. When it creates it, and let me make this window bigger here. It makes 3 circles around your character. So this 3 circles is where the camera moves. So it will, shoot, I deselected it. So this little circle on the bottom is when you move the mouse and you're at the feet of your character. This is on the middle where it regularly looks at, and this from the top. So if I look at the Cinemachine component here, there is access control. Let me just close this. There's a top rig, a middle rig, and a bottom rig. So the rigs is just these circles. So this circle is the bottom rig, this middle rig, and top rig, obviously. So if I look at the middle rig, let's see, where's the middle rig? I'm on it right now. It has an offset here, so it's looking kind of at the feet of the character. So we're gonna offset it so it looks more at the center of my character. And now if I hit play, you know, I'm looking at the center of the character. If I move the mouse, you know, I'm looking around my character. And now I have to do some adjustments here. The feet seem a little low when I'm looking at them. The circle seems small. On the middle is okay. If I move the character, you know, we follow. It doesn't get stuck on, like, let me see if I can get stuck on a collision here. Let's see what happens. Let's see if I can get the camera to stay. See, it won't stay behind a collision. It will move around it. It will change to the top or the bottom rig. It will move around the collision. So it's pretty handy. You know, you can adjust it. I know, like, let me stop the play. This is as much as I want to show you to do today. I know it's a lot. But basically what we did is bring in your own character from Maya. You have to rig it first. We used the quick rig for it. The quick rig is 5 steps. When you bring it into Unity, we deleted Ethan from there, from the third person controller, from this guy right here. just deleted him, his bones, and his glasses, I think was the only thing that was in there. Then you can move the character. It's just moving on a T-pose. So what you do is you open the third person controller and you select the avatar for your character. When you bring your character, you have to create its avatar. So when you bring this, you could do this first or afterwards. It will make the same. You'll do the same result. You just open it, and you will not see this avatar for it. So all you have to do is click on it from the assets, go to its rig. You'll have animations if you brought animations. Just go to its rig and say animation type from none, you say humanoid. So you say apply, it creates the avatar for you. Now on the third person controller, you can select your character's avatar instead of Ethan's avatar. Then we created the Cinemachine camera, which pretty much works by itself. All you have to do is go to Windows Package Manager and say Cinemachine and install. Once you install it, you'll see a new menu in here that says Cinemachine and say create free look camera. You'll see the camera in here, and all you have to do with it for it to work like out of the box, let's just say look at my my character. So it also adds a brain to your main camera, and that's normal. Oh, there it is. It's inside Cinemachine free look 1. You will see follow at and look at. You just change those to your character. So once you set that up, it's already following your character. You can offset this rigs that it creates, the circles, so the camera rotates around those circles. But yeah, that's pretty much all we covered today. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording now, and we're going to address some questions. I know you guys have questions. Oh, and Aaron put a link there to if you want to add set hand animation to your rig with the quick rig. That's pretty useful. I seen it. I was trying to do it, and I had troubles putting weights on the fingers to me. Because yeah, it's easy to put the bones on it, but when you start painting weights, that's another story. So if you want to do it, go for it. That's where it is. It'll save you some time. You only have to rig the hands, not everything else. Okay, Shane.
Yeah, I'm getting an error when I try to delete Ethan.
Does it say you have to be inside the... Can you share your screen? It's good if everybody...
Yeah.
It's probably asking you to be inside the prefab.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay, so say open prefab. Now you're inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
And this may happen to you. It might ask you, hey, you're inside of, it kind of wants you to go inside the prefab. So in here you say Ethan body, just hit delete. Ethan glasses, just delete them. And the bones too, delete them. Okay. And now you go back with the arrow, say save. And now, so you have your rig character. Let's see.
Yeah, and I also got this error.
Found important rig in this animation. Hang on, let me move. Wait. Errors found important rig in this animation file. Open imports. Missing or invalid transform. Require human bone head not found. So it's missing the head bone.
Yeah, so I have. This is the character I made in the rigging, and I've got the definition for the head defined. So I don't know why.
Can you look on the outliner here? It says root, foot, big toe, or the bones, wherever the bones are. So is there a head there?
So that's connected to. See, is that right?
So it should be from the neck,
So it's connected to this spine.
spine, head.
Yeah.
It might be the naming. It might be this needs to be named head. You can go. I think if you go and go back to Unity. In here you can say configure. Let's say, and in here I'll let you pick the bones. So
Okay.
let's see.
So it looks like it didn't import for some reason. There should be another bone here.
Gray. Is that gray bone? So see on the pick head on the right side. There's a little button. On
Sorry,
the
cat's in the way. Okay, there.
head, and you can pick the bone here on the list underneath it. I think it was called spine head or something like that.
Yeah.
Let's see, clavicle, elbow, pinky. Man, rakes are so complex.
Yeah.
There's just so many parts to it.
There.
Fine.
Okay.
Okay, and then at the bottom say apply. Okay, did it work? Let's see. So it looks like it should be working now.
Okay. And then
So you might have to click
how do I get back?
you might have to click on your scenes. Yeah, there you go. I hit play. Let's see if it's working now. Ah, there you go. Shannon. Wow, look at that. You modeled this character?
I didn't model it, but I rigged it. It's a model from my Autodesk asset store. Still
Nice.
can't get those stairs to work, but
you'll have to make them smaller, or so select the stairs and open the shoot. I don't know on stairs if we can modify the steps afterwards, but if you scaled it down, I would just make a whole new bunch of stairs.
yeah. So I tried making stairs with a smaller. Let's see. Tools.
With the smaller step.
Yeah, and I still ran into the same problem.
Make the depth bigger, like so they are not so steep. And you can type something there, because you know it depends on the angle that is going up. So you try that, but I'm for sure it's just the angle of it, because when we get into navigation, that's a big thing, like the angle of things. And then if you close that window, the other one will go away.
Yeah. Close enough.
Yeah, something up.
Okay, cool.
All right. Thank you, Shane. Who else has questions?
Oh yeah, I had a couple questions about just rigging and stuff.
Yeah.
So you said we could use the quick rig, but like, what if your character has like a scarf or something, and you want to animate the scarf as well when they run? Would you be able to custom animation or something? Or
I would do the model with the scarf.
Yeah.
And not animate the scarf. Unity has a cloth system on it that can animate it with the physics of the engine, and you wouldn't have to calculate anything or make it realistic.
Because I have like a little cloak on my character, like just like a simple piece of fabric on it, and I don't want to awkward when it runs.
Yeah, that'd be nice to try actually, to test, see how it runs, because I haven't I've seen how it works, but I haven't actually modeled something and put it on it. But if you have any kind of cape, scarf, or flowing hair, you know, I would leave that for the engine instead of you trying to animate it.
All right, that's a good idea. So I'll just use the quick rig then.
Yes.
I do that. Okay.
Just a quick rig. Any other questions? So from here to 2 weeks, you have to have a character. So either model one from scratch if you feel comfortable enough, download one from online, modify it, or use one of these assets from Autodesk that are already on the pre-built assets. What is it called? I forgot already. It's not assets. Maya calls it
Content browser.
Content browsers. Thank you. Yeah, the content browser. So if you go to Maya, if you go to Windows, General, let me share it to you. So just one sec. You can get your character from there and modify it, you know. So you're starting from something and not from zero. But if you're brave and you feel comfortable enough, just you can start from zero. But it's general editors, content browser. You know, there's a few characters here you can use. There's a lot of free characters on the asset store too that you can modify. But you basically have 2 weeks, you know, to put it together and rig it. So I know it's not long, but if it's a basic character, it should work. So you have something working on your game. Any other questions? Let me look at the chat here. So if you don't have questions, I'll let you work on that now, creating your own character. On Wednesday, we'll keep talking about this because obviously that one character has just running and jumping, right? Or crouching also. But you might want your character to do something different, like kicking or something like that. I don't know. So I will show you how to add animations to it, how to build from animations that are motion capture already, so you don't have to start from zero. And we'll cover that on Wednesday. Unity manages the animations with something called the animation controller. So when you have your character, you know, and in this case with Ethan, when you hit W, he goes forward, as A or S, you know, he moves in a different way. That's done with the animation controller. So we need to make our own animation controller and learn to use it. So if we ever want to bring other characters with different animations, we can make it work. And Unity knows when to play those animations. But we'll cover that on Wednesday. Just be thinking about your character, design it. Also on a couple of weeks here, I want you to have some more defined ideas. You know, some of you mentioned some things that you would like to do. I want you to do some concept art for it, for your game. So what's the level going to look at? I know you have some ideas. It's easier if you do it on paper rather than you start modeling right away. You know, if you start modeling right away, you might end up with something that doesn't look like what you wanted. If you're lucky, it might be better, but it doesn't happen very often. You usually have to plan first. So if you have no questions, you're free to go. If you do have questions, I know some of you have questions with things that I've shown or last week, please stick around and I'll answer them for you. Okay, you guys have a good day.